What's up, everyone? Matt is back with the Fault Line Disc Golf channel, and I'm doing the in the bag video that I mentioned I would do on a couple of videos. So here it is. We're down here in my office. It's covered and riddled in Lego. Depending on how quickly I get through this, maybe I'll do a Lego tour, or maybe that'll just be a secondary or a follow-up video that has nothing to do with disc golf, but just fun to show off, I guess. But let's get right into it. Rocking the 2026 pound bag. This is one of the recent release bags that is custom. I guess it was one of 10, and there was a few different releases in a few different colorways. I've always loved camo bags. I just think they look sick. So I've pulled the trigger on getting this one. Been rocking a pound bag since I think the very first iteration of it, or at least one of the first incarnations of that bag. But we'll start off with the putters, and then we'll kind of move on to the rest of the discs. So my main putting putter, as you guys may have seen in the videos, is the Calvin AVR, aka the KC AVR. Rocking 3 of them. There's really no rhyme or reason for why I'm bagging 3. I usually always bag 2, but I'm bagging 3 of these. So I just like to have more than one putter for sure in the bag. That way I can rotate them. So each hole, each putt, I'm using a different one, so they all get relatively the same amount of wear. So rocking these 3, loving these. Moving on from there, got a really nice DX San Marino 2-ring AVR. This is definitely something that I'm using more so for upshots rather than putting. But it's really great for just putting a lot of spin behind, leaving the nose up a little bit, and just letting it kind of push and glide onto the green. Or if I'm trying to run the basket, then hopefully in the basket. Moving on from there, Climo Disc Golf Test Flight Signature Line Cliff. That's a mouthful. But this is the Cliff in the Signature Line plastic from Climo Disc Golf. One of the Disc East releases, I had somebody pick it up for me because I wasn't able to be in attendance. And it's just been an absolute workhorse in my bag. I've loved it ever since I got it. It replaced my ESP Luna, one of the Petto Moody bottom stamp ESP Lunas. This replaced that. I just feel like I have more confidence in this. And even though it's a 2-3 -1-0, it definitely doesn't fly like a -1-0. It definitely has a little bit more stability at the end, which I'm personally fond of. So really digging this. This is going to have a home in the bag for quite a while. Moving on from there, we'll go with the, I guess I have 3 more putt and approach molds realistically, but I don't use them as such. One of them is the Discraft First Flight Sled. Still getting to know this disc, still getting used to it. Between the Cliff and the Sled, it's basically covering a gap that I had, or that I self-created in taking out the Neutron Soft Proxy. The Neutron Soft Proxy is not nearly it has a similar stability to the Cliff, but if you throw it flat or throw it with some anhyzer, then it definitely flies like the Sled. So given that I took out the ESP Luna and the Neutron Soft Proxy, I now have the Cliff and the Sled to kind of take those places. And it's a 3-speed, so I liken it to a putt and approach mold. And then from there, I have 2 Star Classic Rocks, one of which I started bagging only a few years into playing golf, and it's kind of come in and out of the bag for the entire length of time. And then a much newer one, obviously the stamp is not nearly as worn off. A little bit about myself. I've been playing disc golf for about 17 years now, and I've probably been throwing this specific classic rock off and on for about 13 of that 17-year period. So it's definitely got some wear. It's the Ontario mold, patent numbers, just really, really buttery. I myself like the Star Plastic version a little bit more than the Champion Classic version, or the Champion version of the Classic Rock. I've only ever owned one Champion Classic Rock myself, and it's been a long time since I've thrown one, so I really can't compare the two. I do know that Champion Plastic typically is a little bit more overstable than the Star counterpart, but I've just really loved these, and I've got a nice little stack of them, so they'll stay in the bag for as long as I can throw them. And then moving on from there, 2021 ESP Glow Zone. It's a zone. What can I say? Probably the most common approach disc in the bags of all disc golfers out there, I would imagine. So it's a zone. I love it. Moving on, this guy is a Mega Glow Zone SS. Shout out to Greggy Biscuits with OTB Europe. I commented on one of the Instagram posts about wanting to get my hands on some of these since they weren't available in their US locations. And Greg hit me up on Instagram and was able to work out a deal with me so I could, obtain these and have them shipped from overseas to get them. So I've only got a few reps with it so far, but I'm really liking what it's been able to do so far. So loving that. Thanks, Greggy. Appreciate you, brother. Moving on from there, Andrew Miranda Proline Swirl Quake. This is from last year's fundraiser run that he put together. When I lived in Santa Cruz, when the Quake came out, I never threw one. I think at the time I was probably bagging like a Gator or a Rock X3, something in that realm of overstable mids, and I just never gravitated towards throwing this. But I've seen Andrew Miranda grow up in the sport. I remember him signing up and playing tournaments that I was hosting at De La Viega as an amateur, and seeing him, being on the world stage and being a very very competitive athlete is really really cool. So I wanted to buy one of his discs, and I'm glad that I did, because ever since I started bagging it, I've just absolutely loved it. So shout out to you, Andrew. I highly doubt you'll watch this video, but if you do, rooting on you, brother. Or rooting for you. Wow, words are hard. Moving on to the next set of mids here. I've got 4 of them in the bag, and I've got a couple over here on the side that kind of honorable mentions that kind of come in and out. So I'll go through those pretty quickly. But I've got an 11-time, too much LED light above me, I apologize, but this is an 11-time KC Pro Rock. I've been cycling KC Pro Rocks in and out of the bag for probably the same amount of time that I was throwing those classic rocks. So like 13 years out of the 17 years that I've been playing. This one's been in and out, or has been in the bag for just over a year. It's in that perfect sweet spot where I can throw it on hyzer nice and hard, watch it stand up and go nice and straight, and then have a nice gentle fade. I can also make it just hold the hyzer the entire way. That's kind of one of the beautiful things about throwing KC rocks, is you can manipulate them on so many lines. So loving this disc, and happy to have it in the bag. Moving on, got a couple of different Climo DiscGolf Bel Airs. This one is the prototype run in the major line plastic. And then I also have this Victory Line run Bel Air, and I dyed it red because it was originally a clear color, or clear white, so no color, duh. And then I dyed the Hydra logo on there just because I thought the Hydra logo from the the Avengers Marvel movie was super sick, so I wanted to put that onto a disc. Just really been digging this, but I reach for this guy when there's a little bit more wind that KC Rock can't handle, and then this guy is what I step up to if there's too much wind for this one to handle, and then I go to that Quake if there's just too much wind and I still want to throw a mid-range for whatever reason. That would be a lot of wind. From there, we've got a white C-Line MD1 that I dyed red and then threw a Spider-Man dye onto. This is something I just use for flip to flat shots or straight to turn shots. It's starting to get pretty beat in. I've had it in the bag for probably about 18 months now, and it's definitely getting ready to, maybe get replaced in the bag, just because it's starting to get a little bit more understable than what I would want it to be at. But that's the beautiful thing about buying backups, right? Couple of those honorable mentions that cycle in and out of my bag. For those that know me, I am huge into Formula One, and I support Max Verstappen with Red Bull Racing, and this is his lion logo that he has on the top of his helmet. So this is a white major line, orange major line Bel Air from Climo DiscGolf, and it's more overstable than the red prototype that I have, given that it's newer and just not as thrown, but it is from the same run. It is still one of the prototypes. I just wiped the stamp and threw the Max Verstappen logo on there. And then moving on from there, this guy's a butterball, just an absolute gem. Team Innova stamped, swirly star, Des Redding, Stingray. I got this one from Lisa Fakis on Facebook. Got into a bit of a bidding war on it and spent a little bit more than I wanted to spend on it. But at the end of the day, I was supporting Lisa, who I also know and have played with. Super awesome. And just wanted to, support her, but I also really wanted this disc because it was so sick. Nice board flat. These ESP Star Stingrays from the Des Redding run came out with quite a bit more stability than your standard Stingray. So this actually may completely go back into the bag permanently to replace that C-Line MD1, just because it flies very much like that C-Line MD1 did when it was brand new. and that's kind of what I'm looking for again. Moving on to drivers and discs, or drivers and fairways, excuse me. I'll start with the only Firebird that I have in the bag, which is a 2021 Color Glow Champion Firebird from the Santa Cruz Masters Cup, when I had the pleasure of running that tournament. We like to call this one the saw blade stamp because of the way that a waveform is around the Santa Cruz in the center of the disc. I mean, it's a Color Glow Champion Firebird. I predominantly use it for forehand rollers because I have a terrible forehand. But if I do have to use it for a forehand that's a little bit outside of the reach of the zone, then I'll definitely throw this. Great disc. What else can I say about a Firebird? Moving on from there, 4 actual fairway drivers, one of which is a prototype Climo Disc Golf Streak. Love this. I got it as soon as I possibly could get my hands on it. I was hoping that it would replace like a leopard style mold in my bag, and I was pretty accurate with that. I mean, it's like a 7.6 -1.1, so it definitely has some turn, not as much finish at the end, which I really actually like, in that kind of leopard-ish slot. And I've really been enjoying it. So kudos to Climo Disc Golf. I've got a lot of their molds in in my bag, for a great reason. He's made some really great molds with Discraft, so good stuff. Moving on from there, we'll go to my 11-time champion T-Bird with a Huck Lab die that I threw on there. This one I scored off of Reddit for a scream of a deal, so I just had to get it. The only problem was it has some ink on the back, so that's why I threw the Huck die on there. But at the end of the day, it's a red 11-time champion T-Bird, so it's awesome on just about any angle, perfect for hyzer flips. That just seems like it never runs out of steam before it comes out and hits the ground. Love this. I will always bag at least one T-Bird. Right now I only have one in the bag, but most of the time there's 2. Moving on from there, I've got 2 different Cigarras. Got the BFF Collab, and then I also have this ESP Test Flight, both of which I threw the Huck die onto. General consensus from what I read online before getting an ESP Test Flight was that they were a little bit more understable. That doesn't necessarily suit my arm speed. I find it to be a neutral to slightly overstable Cigarra, which is exactly what I was hoping for. And this BFF one is the same with just a tick more overstability at the end of its flight. So really liking these. Really glad that I picked these up. So they'll stay in the bag for a while, or for as long as I want to keep them in there before I switch them up. Variety is the spice of life, right? Then moving on, I've got 2 different kind of like, I like to liken these to like hybrid drivers, if you will, because they're, not quite a 7 or 8 speed, they're 9-10 speed. So this is a first run S-Line CD2. Shout out to my homie Tim Naz back in Santa Cruz who gifted me this beauty. I threw CD2s for a long time, but I was kind of in a weird transition stage with my game where I was like in this valley and I wasn't really seeming to come out the other side. So I took a lot of the faster speed discs out of my bag and really just focused on throwing some slower fairway drivers and rocks and mid-ranges and such. So when I got rid of those, I actually got rid of them, and I sold them and I got rid of them thinking that I'd never go back to them. Stupid mistake. So my buddy Tim hooked me up with this one just before I moved out here to Utah a few years ago, and it's been in and out of the bag ever since, but now it's definitely been more of a staple over the last few months. If you've thrown an S-Line CD2 from the Innova days, you know what I'm talking about. Super good disc. Moving on from there, this is a prototype Halix from Ricky's prototype Halix. I threw the Ozzy Osbourne stamp on there. Right after he passed away, I was, as a lot of people were, I was very, sad to, hear of his passing. He was definitely getting up there in age, but I've grown up with Ozzy Osbourne and listening to his music for the past 25 years of my life. So when he passed away, it definitely had an impact. And I just thought I couldn't do anything cooler than grabbing this color disc or this swirly color disc and throw his logo on there. So this doesn't get a whole lot of reps in my bag. It kind of comes in and out depending on the course that I'm playing. And it's mainly just a hyzer machine for me. I'm not really trying to make it do anything else other than just throwing on big hyzers. But it's working out so far, so it'll stay. And then I've got a few drivers, 2 more honorable mentions that kind of come in and out of the bag. Moving on, we've got the prototype Major Line Skyway from Climo Disc Golf. Wow, that was weird. This is to me just a absolutely, it's, in my opinion, it's a Wraith clone. But I haven't thrown a Wraith in a really long time that actually flew like this, that was this dependable. Um, I love Innova Discs. I've supported them for a long time. They were a sponsor of mine for the Santa Cruz Masters Cup when I was running that tournament. I have nothing but good and positive things to say about that company and that brand. But I just think that Climo Disc Golf and Discraft absolutely hit it out of the park with this mold, and I've been loving it. Moving on from there, I have another, or actually, speaking of Wraiths, I have this CFR Augusta Wraith from the 2006 Pro Worlds that comes in and out of the bag every so often. Um, there's not a whole lot more that I can say. This is a really, really good run of Wraiths. Same with the penned SWRs that are out there and floating around, the pre-flight number ones. Um, those, I have one of those. It's not in my bag, but it may make its way into the bag towards the end of the season, depending on how that red major line one gets beat up, or if this CFR one gets beat up. But these are just absolute gems. This guy is definitely going to be something I would reach for in the wind if I'm checking the conditions before I leave the house for the day to go play golf, and it's going to be windy. I'm going to grab this because I know I can trust this into a wind. Not that I can't with this, but this just, I know for a fact it's going to hold up. Moving on from there, I have this other Skyway with the Iron Leaf stamp on it. This one's absolutely gorgeous. It's just so sick. I think this came from the USDGC special release that Climo Disc Golf did. It's got a ton of glitter. I'm pretty sure this is like a major line sparkle is what I want to say. It's 171 grams, but it's just awesome. You can throw it on a bit of hyzer, watch it stand up, maybe get a little bit of turn. Probably pushing the far reaches of my distance at around 400 feet or so. This is great. Finally, moving on, got a test flight Apogee. Came out at the same time as the test flight Cliff at Disc East. It's definitely, I like it a lot. And I understand Kenny's sentiment from his most recent in the bag, where they're still tweaking this mold to give it a little bit more integrity into the wind, because on a couple of occasions I have had it, kind of not flip over, but have it hold that turn a little bit longer than I anticipated. So really good nonetheless. Definitely got a bit of a heartbeat, which is kind of rad, which means it definitely has some stability rather than like a flatter one. But still getting used to this, but I like it so far. And then last but not least, something that has been coming in and out of my bag since I got it, that Zeus 2.0. This is a little bit more overstable than your traditional Zeus. I used to throw back in the day the Kong, the pop top ones that were really, really overstable before they were renamed to be the Zeus, and they kind of flattened out the mold a little bit, at least from my understanding, that is. Had one of these, or I picked one of these up from OTB on one of their Whatnot streams. Shout out to Danny and Double A for putting up those streams and dealing with people like me. But I picked up this guy from them, and I've been digging it so far. I've just, speaking with complete transparency, I've been throwing it on flex lines because I just can't throw it on hyzer to have it like actually stand up. I just don't have the arm speed to do that anymore. But on a flex line, it's awesome. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's I'll kind of go over the bag real quick. 2026 pound Octo-Haul has the straps, or Octo-Thorpe, but it has the straps to, liken it to the Octo-Hauls of old. I'm from Santa Cruz and from the De La Viega Disc Golf Club, so still repping them and having that patch on my bag. Iron Maiden, shout out to the boys again at OTB, Double A, Danny, Greggy Biscuits, as I'm a part of the creator team with Another Round. Salt Lake City, definitely got to be supporting them with the Another Round patch. Dio for Ronnie James Dio, rest in peace. And last but not least for patches, I've got the Nakatomi Plaza patch on there because I love Die Hard. It's one of my favorite movies. I will argue with anybody that it's most certainly a Christmas movie, which is why I have it. But, we're been kind of waffling on here for about 20 minutes, but I think it'd be fun to do a little show and tell with the Lego collection. So right now I will preface that I am sorry for the dust because I haven't dusted in here in quite a while, But let me take my camera off the tripod and then I'll give you a quick tour of all the Lego that I have in here. All right, so we're going to start above my desk where I have two different shelves. But we've got all the microfighters and some fun brick heads. Majority of my collection is Star Wars, so you'll see that I have an absolute ton of Star Wars stuff all over there. Got the mechs back there. I thought the food truck series of cars that Lego has made has been absolutely awesome. So I've got a bunch of them. Um, and then up here we have all of the Star Wars buildable figures, which are similar to Bionicles, if you remember those. Um, I don't have all of them. I'm missing a few, but I will definitely get them. They're not hard to come by, so that's going to be a relatively easy thing to obtain. Then moving on, I've got the Hulkbuster from the Avengers movie. And we've got a battle droid on his stap. We've got Chewie, Republic gunship, the one that everyone recognizes and knows, the UCS Millennium Falcon. There's my Santa Cruz Masters Cup sticker that we used to have out on the De La Viega Disc Golf Course. I had one printed up for me by Santa Cruz Signs in Sean Adams. He hooked me up with this one before I moved, so I could have this on my wall in my office. So I'm really stoked that he got me that. A couple more Millennium Falcons. This is the Kessel Run Millennium Falcon from the movie Solo. Then we've got the midi scale one down there. Couple of AT-ATs, the UCS one, and then the one in between his legs is one of the very first AT-ATs that came out. I think that one was from 2003. Then we've got some droids. Got a UCS R2-D2. Sorry, let's see if I can get a little bit more light down here. Yeah, so we've got R2, and then we've got 3PO, we've got Wicket, we've got BD1, we've got BB-8, we've got Chopper, and we've got Dio, all the fun guys. UCS TIE. We have Darth Maul's shuttlecraft. Got K2SO. The Inquisitor's ship, or not? Excuse me, not the Inquisitor's ship. Dang, I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. I apologize, guys. Got the UCS Razor Crest and the original release of the Razor Crest. Couple more brickheads of Mando and Grogu, the original Red 5 X-Wing, the updated version of the Red 5 X-Wing, updated version of the TIE Interceptor, and the original TIE Interceptor. Moving on, we have the original Lego Yoda statue from 2000, and then Grogu and his pram. This is my own creation version of Grogu back there. A licensed Grogu, and another Yoda. As you can tell, I like Yoda. And then we've got a Naboo Starfighter. We've got Poe Dameron's X-Wings here and here. We have Mando's N1 Starfighter. And then kind of moving on with the rest of the collection here. Red Bull F1 car and the Speed Champions car. Mercedes F1 F1 Technic car. Nigel Mansell's Renault, the McLaren, which I'll skip past quickly, Ayrton Senna's championship-winning MC4, awesome car. Got a Ferrari, or multiple Ferraris, excuse me. That's the Braun, or not the Braun, that's the Expensify Apex GP car from the F1 movie, the new Audi F1 car from the 2026 regs, the F1 Academy car, another F1. This is the Ferrari. And then we've got the Ferrari Daytona SP3. And then last, but certainly not least for the Star Wars stuff, these are all of the Slave 1s that I have. Not the Fire Spray class ships. These are Slave 1s, regardless of what anyone says online. I've got a Peugeot 24-hour Le Mans race car. Got the DB5s. The one in the back is from the James Bond release. And then got a shuttlecraft. We've got the Ghost. Got the Executor. Got the F1 diorama, or not F1, wow. These are the pod race dioramas. All of the Star Wars helmets. Sorry, it's a little dark back there, plus 3PO. and Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, a droid decal, Anakin's pod racer, a couple of Jedi starfighters, Speed Champions Porsche, and then we've got two 911 Porsches. One of them is the Targa model, and then the other is the Turbo. Have to have the DeLorean from Back to the Future, so I've got the first one and the second one. And then I also have the Ghostbusters Ecto 1, one of my absolute favorite builds that I have. I've got a small backlog of sets that I need to build, so I'll get through those. Other than that, that's it. Thanks for joining. This video has definitely been a lot longer than I expected it to be, but I think people will get a kick out of the second half of it at the very least. Got a Mando sticker on my wall. Obviously, I like Star Wars quite a bit. But thanks again for coming to watch. I hope you enjoyed. Plenty more content to come. The next video to be posted after this is going to be a round with myself and my buddy Spencer out at Dragonfly, which is a local course. I will say right now that course or that round itself ended on hole 17, and I will explain at the end of that video with that outro. Other than that, enjoy. Go play disc golf. Get outside. Have some fun. Thanks again to Another Round Salt Lake City and Ben for having me on the creator team. And cheers.